Guys, welcome into the very first annual holiday Q&A. This is when I'll be answering the questions I got about my music this year, some random questions in general that I've gotten submitted, and just say thank you to all the people who have taken time to support me. So let's start off. First, we've got Walter Remsky. Walter has been a huge fan of mine, a huge supporter, and he has liked, shared, followed, all of the above. So I really appreciate your support this year, man. This has been fantastic for music, and let's just jump on into your Q&As. Let's see what we got. This is for your Q&A. I actually have a few questions for you. Number one, are you working on album covers for the upcoming album? If so, can you give us any teases? So I'm not going to be doing any more covers for this album, but I will be doing some covers probably as singles. I'm trying to do maybe some songs that haven't been done before in an 80s style, maybe even some classic rock stuff in the style of the 80s, so we'll see. I'll definitely be posting those to social media regardless if I actually make those full releases or not. Number two, I think your voice would be perfect for a cover of Alphaville's Forever Young. Any chance we could get that at some point? That is a song that I've been wanting to cover for a very long time, and thank you very much for saying that my voice would be perfect for that. I love that song so much. I think it's got a great synth sound. I'm actually going to be using some of those sounds, specifically those synthesizers. It's a lot of S's. Wow. Specific synthesizer sounds from the 80s that are very to the point, so you can be able to pick them out very well when I use them in a song. I don't have a plan to release that, and the problem is YouTube taking down a lot of my covers just because of the copyright. So I will be uploading it to Instagram if I do that, and if not, what I'll do is just for people who ask for these covers, I'll just record them and then email them, because if I can get it done, it's good practice for me, and I'd love to send them to people who are actually going to listen, so I will definitely work on that one. Number three, when's the next music video dropping? The Over Me video passed 100K views on YouTube, and I can't wait for the next one. Dude, the Over Me video was so much fun to shoot, and it's been awesome to see the reception so far. I couldn't be happier. I definitely didn't anticipate as much traction in the beginning from this, but it was fantastic. So thank you so much. The next music video will be coming out close to the beginning of the year, because I'll be dropping a new song called Here and Heaven, which is a throwback to an 80s love power ballad style song. It's gonna be fun, and a little bit of a comedic tone in there as well. So I definitely want to keep these videos lighthearted. One of my least favorite things is watching a music video where an artist takes themselves too seriously, because I just want to turn it off after that. I miss watching videos that I grew up on, which I didn't grow up in the 80s. I'm a 90s baby, but when YouTube came out, a lot of the music videos from the 80s were put on there. So like Take Me Home Tonight, all the Huey Lewis videos, Bryan Adams, a bunch of videos that just had like so much story to them, and they were fun to watch. They're very artsy. And a lot of artists that I see now kind of just want to make a music video just because they think it's the thing to do. So I always want to make it a fun thing. So that'll be the next video that I release. We're actually filming that in just a few days here in Nashville at a few different places, so I'm excited for that. Walter, thanks so much for those questions. Let's go to the next one. Username L. Ray Jalisco. What motivated you to make your song Back to the Future? What motivated me to make the song Back to the Future was a few different things. Number one, it was the combination of multiple breakups all put together. I think it's great when you can take the same situation in multiple times. So, I was married at one point, so I took that as an inspiration for something. I was going through breakups at different points, obviously. Ever since I had my first girlfriend in high school, I've been broken up with multiple times since then. So I had much inspiration to pull from. What motivated me was to take all those ideas of things that had happened to me or breakups that I had initiated too, and kind of put them together. I wasn't trying to really pull from one specific story or one specific breakup, but the whole idea for it just came because I love the idea of a future that you can't have with somebody after you envisioned it. That was the motivation for the song. The song isn't so much a breakup song as it is a song that really says, this is the life you can't have anymore. You and this other person you were with, you envisioned this future. You already saw your kids together. You saw all this different stuff, and then it just gets ripped away from you like that, and you're stuck with, okay, now what? Now I don't have that, and I've also got these almost false memories from things that hadn't happened, but to you, they still feel real. So that's the main inspiration for that. Thank you so much for that question. I appreciate that. Arthur Bryce, which part of the Over Me music video was the most difficult to film? The most difficult part of that music video, well, I'll say this. It was probably two parts. The first part of the music video that's hardest to film was actually the scene where I'm walking down the side of the street with Brandy, and we had a lawn care company that was a few feet away as we were trying to film. So even though we had, a permit to film, that doesn't mean we can't, have interference from things that are just going to happen regardless. So this lawn care company was super close, and we had a Bluetooth speaker where I had to listen to the song so that my lips synced up to the music perfectly. I couldn't hear it very well, so we had to do multiple takes of that, plus the fact that it was hot as hell out there that day, and I didn't anticipate that with my shaggy-ass hair, and I was sweating up a storm. And I couldn't hear as well over the Bluetooth speaker because of the thing, and I already have not the best hearing, so it was really interesting to shoot over that, but we got it done. Let me see if there was another difficult scene. Honestly, the preparation that went into all of this was saved us from a lot of difficult scenes. We could have had some difficult scenes, and honestly, we were rolling from the beginning. As soon as we got to Virginia Beach, we were running from the time we got there to the time we left. So the bar had the most difficult scene because of the fact that the shooting order originally was we were going to shoot the bartender scene first, and then we were going to shoot the crowd scene. But we had a lot of people in the crowd that had to go different places after the shoot, and we didn't want to keep them waiting around. So we had to just move the scene till later. So we asked the bartender Tom if he was willing to stay later. He was awesome and agreed and helped us out with that, so thank you, Tom. I know staying later into midnight until after midnight was not ideal, but we really appreciate your commitment to the project. So that was probably the other difficult scene, but yeah, thank you so much for that question. Jen Kirby, what's your favorite food? My favorite food? That's a good question. I got a bunch of different favorite foods. I would say if I could have one food for the rest of my life, it would be crab legs. Yeah, I'm a big seafood fan. I would say also oysters in general, so fried, raw, steamed. I'll take any kind of oysters, but I'd say that's my favorite food. Of the food that I eat the most here, I would say steak. I love steak. I've gotten a lot better at steak too. I like to cook it on cast iron at the house. I'll reverse sear it in the oven first, and then I'll cook it on the cast iron, and it is so good. I'll baste it in some garlic butter. So yeah. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that question. Stephen Manley, if you could build an 80s supergroup, who would be in it? That's a good question. I've been asked this before, and I think I'm going to change my answer. So I would have to put Phil Collins on drums, and I think this would be a really cool group in general. We'd put Phil Collins on drums. I'm going to put Benmont Tench from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers on keys. On guitar, I'm going to put a combination. I'm going to put Steve Lukather, and I'm going to put Eddie Van Halen. Both of those have their strong suits for what I need for an 80s supergroup. I'm going to want some harmony vocals in there as well, so I would like to include Timothy B. Schmidt of the Eagles. Because of the fact that I would also like to have some features with this supergroup, I would also include Michael McDonald to have some features on some vocals, to have that in the background. Could you imagine? He came from somewhere back long ago. That kind of thing. I need that. I definitely need that. Something like that would be fantastic. So yeah, that would be my super group. For bass players, just give me whoever can play bass. Or what we do in every other band is we'll take who is the worst guitar player and make them the bass player. Well, I guess, if I have to throw in a bass player, I'll throw in Sting. There aren't too many prominent bass players that I know from the 80s other than that. I'd have to get some female vocals in there as well. So background female vocals, I'd probably get either Whitney Houston or Stevie Nicks for female backup vocals. Definitely the high stuff for Whitney Houston, and then Stevie Nicks for stuff like the Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks song they did together, and also the Don Henley and Stevie Nicks song. Both of those are great examples of utilizing her voice as a duo and harmony as well. So thank you for that, Steven. I appreciate that question. Great one as usual. And Steven is also a musician as well. I'm excited to hear some music he's been coming out with this year too. Username Slam09. What are your top 5 singles from the 80s? Immediately what comes to mind are 2 songs, Boys of Summer by Don Henley and Take Me Home Tonight by Eddie Money. Take Me Home Tonight has probably been one of my favorite songs of all time. Let's see. The other three, I'm going to go through my list here. Another one I'm going to go with is In a Big Country by the band Big Country. That is such an underrated band and such an underrated song. If you haven't listened to it yet, please go do so. The other two songs I would pick for the remainder two would be You Belong to the City by Glenn Frey. I'm pretty sure that sums up the entire feeling of watching the show Miami Vice. That is number 4. And I'll be honest with you, it's very hard because I've got like 100 favorites that I can say are actual favorites. Last one at number 5 will be Bringing on the Heartbreak by Def Leppard, 1981. I sounded like Casey Kasem a little bit there trying to introduce that last song. And coming in at number 1, Def Leppard, Bringing on the Heartbreak. That was a like a 7 out of 10 Casey Kasem. Yeah. We'll come back to that impersonation later if we can swing it. Thank you so much for that question, Slam_09. I appreciate that. Rob Lane from the Straight to Video podcast. I was on this podcast earlier this year, and Rob, thank you so much for having me on that. It was awesome. Great to talk to you as well. I love when I get to meet people who have such a big love of the 80s, but also just the pop culture in general. So his question is, of all the legendary 80s slashers, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, and Leatherface, which one would you stand the best chance against and why? Well, because I'm a cocky son of a bitch, I would say I could beat them all up. But we all know that's not true. So I would say, of all of those, I probably have the best chance against Freddy. Jason and Michael both seem like they're pretty supernatural, even though they're, I have no idea if they truly are or not. Leatherface, I wouldn't get near him because of the chainsaw in general. I think that he'd get a little too close to me, and I have a fear of lockjaw. So if he gets close to me, I'm probably more concerned with the rust on the chainsaw than anything else. Freddy, I would have the best chance against, not only because I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street probably more than the other movies, but I would say I used to sleepwalk when I was younger, and I still talk in my sleep a lot. I used to. What's weird is sometimes I would get up in the middle of the night and I would have conversations with people, and I would kind of know that I'm doing it sometimes, and then I'd forget all about it. But I would wake up the next morning and I'd be wearing like khaki pants, and it was always a reminder, because if I wore pants when I woke up, I meant that I got up, put on pants, because of the fact that I thought that if someone was going to have a conversation with me in my dreams, I deserve to have pants on, and I shouldn't be just in my underwear talking to somebody. And that sounds like a really weird thing, but that is my explanation as to why I would beat Freddy, because I have the best chance. I'm in my dreams a lot, and I'm very lucid, so I can probably, stand a good chance in my dreams. Rob, thank you so much for that question. I appreciate that. We got Harry Rivers next. What inspires you every day to make music? That's a great question, Harry. I've gotten asked before what inspires me to make specific songs, but just in general, what inspires me every day to make music? It's the thing that I love the most, and it sounds like a very cliche answer, but I'll tell you, I wanted to be a director, I wanted to be an actor, and this is the thing that I get to pretty much combine all of those loves of together. I can help put videos together. I get to act in the videos, which is my favorite thing about releasing new music videos. But what inspires me every day to make music is because I get to do everything all in one. I get to be an actor, a director, I get to write the music, I get to perform the music. It inspires me in multiple ways to hear back from people who've sent me messages, stuff like, hey, this is how this song has helped me. Specifically with the song Back to the Future, I've got a lot of people who have sent me messages saying, hey man, I was going through a breakup when you released this song. Thank you so much for releasing this. This is exactly how I feel. And that is it's a huge moment for me to really be validated in that way. The other reason why it inspires me is because it's the best creative outlet that I've got. I like to do a bunch of projects and stuff as far as, what I do for creativity, whether it's art or acting or singing. And I would say music is the one that allows me to be the most expressive. So I love that it just is the best outlet for my creativity. So Harry Rivers, thank you so much for that question. Chloe Clementi is an artist, and a damn good one, if I may say so myself. She makes modern 80s music as well. Please take some time and check out her music as well. Two of my favorites by her are This Time Love, and the other one is Not Good With Words. Both of those are two of my favorites that she's released. And I think that she's got some new music coming out as well this year. I've seen a bunch of teases on social media, so please go check out her as well. Chloe Clemente, Clemente. Her questions are, who are your top 3 inspirations for music? Number 1. Number 1, I would go with, just right off the bat, Bryan Adams. I love the way that he sounds. I love that it's a solo artist doing rock. And I miss that about eras like the 80s where you could have more solo artists doing rock. Now it's a band or nothing. Number 2, I would say Don Henley. His album Building the Perfect Beast came out in 1984. It's a perfect album, front to back, in my opinion. One of the big examples of a perfect album. His albums, specifically where he broke away from the Eagles, which is another one of my favorite bands, when he broke away from the Eagles and did the solo career, I think is a perfect example of a mix of pop and rock. And he's got such grittiness in his vocals, and all the vocalists that I like that are guys have that grittiness to them. The third one is going to be Tom Petty. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers was a band that I got to see right before Tom Petty actually passed away. Tom's southernness in his vocals while also singing rock and roll is a huge inspiration to me. I'm from Virginia, and I originally moved here to Nashville to write country music. So while I don't have the country voice, a lot of the writing that I do in songs stems from country music. Some of the melodies and the songwriting layout, a lot of that stems from a mix of country and classic rock. Even though it has a very much of an 80s flair, a lot of the song styles come from that. So it's cool to know there are artists like Tom Petty and Don Henley. Both of these guys came from southern areas, and you could hear a little bit of southernness in their voice, but you still don't consider them country by any means. They are classic rock, and so it's cool to know that there are people who aren't, you think rock and roll music is specifically one thing. It's, you can't be from the country and also sing rock, but you forget about a lot of bands like Skynyrd. Skynyrd wasn't a country band, but, they're rock, and they came from Florida. Tom Petty also came from Florida. All these guys came from, these southern areas, and it's great to have that as an inspiration, because I thought it'd be very difficult to get into pop and pop rock after, coming from Virginia. So those are my top 3 inspirations for music. Follow-up question by Chloe. What artists and bands do I listen to just for fun? And I will go outside of 80s a little bit for this one. I'm a big fan of what Chappell Roan is doing. I love the specific synth sounds that she uses on songs, and you can kind of pick out songs from the 80s that she very much draws inspiration from. Another artist that I love is called Conan Gray. He released an album this past year, which is very 80s influenced. A couple other artists that I like. I love the band Muse. I'm a big fan of Muse, Led Zeppelin, Eagles. A band that I really love that I didn't get to see the entire band, but I got to see the band with their new lead singer, was Foreigner. Foreigner is a band that I grew up loving so much. My dad had, I think, Foreigner, a couple of the Foreigner CDs when I was younger, and I got to listen to a lot of those. So yeah, those are some of the bands that I love. Artists as well. Let me see if I'm forgetting anybody. Billy Joel. Definitely Billy Joel. Outside of those, I'd say I listen to a lot of movie soundtracks too. Footloose has a great soundtrack, and so does the movie Some Kind of Wonderful. If you haven't seen that movie, please check it out, but also the soundtrack is fantastic. So thank you so much, Chloe, for those questions. I appreciate that, and I hope you had a great year with your music, and I'm looking forward to hearing some new stuff as well. Last question we have is by Tyler Lloyd Struther. Good morning, Reeve. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Best artist of 2024 easily. I feel like I also have to say that I did not pay him to say that, but I would have. So thank you, Tyler, for saying that. Any plans to tour soon? Yes. So I've got the potential for a couple shows. I'm definitely doing a showcase in the spring, putting a backing band together. The full thing, sax, keys, all that stuff. It's going to be great. I'm going to be doing a showcase here in Nashville. There's also the possibility of me opening up for an artist that I really admire in the same genre. And once that is official, I can go ahead and let you guys know who and when that's going to be for. But yeah, those are going to be some really awesome shows. We're also going to be doing Whiskey Jam this year in Nashville. That's going to be a really great thing because I've been going to Whiskey Jam for a few years now and different shows. I've seen some really cool artists at Whiskey Jam that really popped off afterwards. So it's going to be great to go and play that. What gave you inspiration to bring back this style of music? So as I said before, I wrote country music when I moved here, but What really inspired me to bring the style of music back is just I've been a big fan of the movies and the music for a very long time of the 80s. I think it's a very specific genre of pop culture. It's a very colorful genre of pop culture. You think 80s and you can immediately see a color palette. So I was with a band for a little while. I was the songwriter and vocalist, and things just didn't work out, as some bands do. And I decided to embark on my own. And I started by, writing some country songs. And I realized, what I'm doing, if I'm going to do this all the way, I want to give it my all. And even though I grew up in a very country area, I didn't feel like the music that I was putting out or that I was writing was very much me. I feel like I can still write country music for other artists, but it's not who I am as an artist. So I was thinking, the things that I go back to and watch the most, things that I go back and listen to the most, are very centered around the 80s. I can't think that for a very long time I will be transitioning to any other part of music, any other style. When people say 80s, there's so many different things. You've got Wham, you've got Whitesnake, you've got Def Leppard, Van Halen, and then you've also got Whitney Houston, Genesis. There's Bruce Springsteen. So of all these, there's so many artists that don't seem like they would fit together. They'd probably all be in separate genres if they came out now. But 80s is so all-inclusive because of specific sounds and melodies that it just all feels like it's one genre sometimes. So I love that, and I can kind of stick in this 80s route, whether it's 80s pop, 80s rock, heartland rock. All that stuff still fits into the genre, so I've got plenty of inspiration to pull from and also plenty of directions to go. Last question from Tyler is, full album drop soon? Yes, Tyler, I'm working on 6 new songs to be releasing to finish up this debut album, which will be the 3 I already released, plus 1 more this year coming up in early January. The song Here in Heaven and the music video for that. And after that, I'm going to be doing 6 songs, at a minimum 6 songs this year. That's just a good, realistic goal. So that'll be finishing up the album. I have a couple ideas for album titles that I'm pretty excited about and pretty all on board for. So if anybody has any cool ideas for album titles, please let me know. I've got one that I'm really leaning towards, and I'm not going to say that yet because I don't want to jinx it. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this. I appreciate you giving your time to check out my music this year. It has been a fantastic year, whether it's been sharing, following, all the likes, just really helping to really boost my career, meet some really great people who are very like-minded in the love of anything 80s space. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you have a great holiday this year, 2024 coming to a close, and let's make 2025 a great year. Thank you guys so much.